Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the show that is thinking that maybe we need to make Sean a permanent retiree. Not that he's retired, but that he just keeps retiring over and over and over again. My name is Toasted and I am the host, based up in the Midlands in the UK. And joining me on the Isle of Wight, island of the coast of the UK, is Sharon.
Hello.
And Sean.
Myself slightly.
Okay, so Sean, do you want to tell us why it is that I think you're just a permanent retiree? You don't do anything but just keep retiring.
Well, I was due to finish on the 31st of August.
So this is you were working as a teacher.
Yes.
You were working as at school. You retired, and then they brought you back.
Then they brought me back, and I was going to retire again, but they've asked me. They came because of certain things that have happened. They came and they said, two people come and said, do you think you could work September, please? And I'm like, well, you want me to? So anyway, so I asked them what would happen. They said it'd still be okay. We'll still, you still get your pension and what have you and all that. But we just would really, really like you to work. You don't have to, obviously, if you've got other plans. And I was like, I'm in an hour. And I said, well, what about all the people that gave me all the retirement gifts and the cards and stuff?
Back again.
Like, yeah, I can imagine they'd be like, no, they won't be none too pleased, I don't think. But they say, I thought you'd gone. So. But it is a bit of a crisis, and they've been pretty good to me. So I said I would give them another month. So I said, what is it you want me to do? And they said to me, just be there, because I think there'll be a lot of sort of stuff to do. And I mean, I know this sounds really, really super big headed, but I'm quite good at it and adaptable at doing lots of different things. So whatever I can fit into a lot of different roles, whether it's unlocking the school, like a caretaking role or driving role or teaching role or whatever they need, So it's a case of, Sean, can you do this? I'm like, yeah. And they know that I'll do it. I mean, it's not without any.
So yeah, if you might have seen on our Facebook page that we had, and even on Instagram, we had pictures of what Sean has been getting up to in retirement, and the toys that he was given, and the gifts he was given in retirement, and all that. And now he's sort of walked out of the room, walked out of the building one week, and come back the next week going, "Hey guys, thanks for all the presents." And I think it's definitely to say that they're not going to give you a third retirement.
No.
No, that's it. You're gone now.
Yeah. But I think they'd be understanding under the circumstances. Maybe even quite pleased.
Yeah, and Sean, you're being a bit quiet about that, but it is actually a news story that hit the headline. The school that Sean was working at was in the national news for having a cyberware attack. Let's just put it that way, a cybercrime attack, which is making everything a bit interesting at the moment. But anyway, moving on to films, which you should have a lot more time for. And judging by the films that you've brought to the table this week, Sean, you do have a lot more time for those.
I do have, yes.
You do have a lot more time for those. So, shall we kick off? And Sean, can you give us the litany of films that you have seen? Because for those of us you who haven't heard the show before, what we do is that we go to the cinema and watch at least 3 films each week, or sometimes less, depending on what's available. And we watch similar number of things at home, and we rate them all out of 5. And at the end of the show, we say who has won this week, who has won the battle for our eyeballs. Has it been Netflix or has it been cinema? So this week, Sean, let's kick off with cinema. What
Okay.
is it that you have seen in the cinema?
Well, this week at the cinema, I went to see The
Yep.
And I went to see Don't Breathe 2. And I went to see Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe, Snake Eye, whatever.
Yeah.
Some title.
Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Retaliation, Comeback.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, one of the G.I. Joe franchise movies. It's called Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
Was any one of these a preview screening?
A preview screening? No, none of these.
They're all on general release.
They're all on general release. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
But last week on the preview screening, I did see Free Guy.
Yes.
I thought we'd save that.
Yeah. We're saving that for this week, and I have something to say about Free Guy and a number of films that you get to see and all that. But anyway, so Sharon, what have you seen in the cinema this week?
I went to see The Courier at the cinema.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is the way these things work. So usually Sharon and I come in with our measly offerings, a bit, a bit like Oliver. It's like, I'm sorry, sir, I don't have any more.
Yeah, when you got the one.
Yeah,
I was a bit annoyed actually because there's a couple of films I did intend to see, and I saw that they had 3 or 4 screenings, which normally indicates that they may go over another week and have 1 screening a day. And I was expecting 1 to carry over, and it didn't. And so I just thought, and a film that I did not expect to carry over did, and mine got dropped. So I was just thought, oh, goodness sake. So
yeah, I agree.
I missed a couple that I wanted to see.
Yeah, I agree, Sharon, because I really wanted to see that one about the vampire. Boys from County Hell. I thought the Boys from County Hell. I thought that was going to carry over, and I thought, I'll catch it this week. And I was really, really disappointed when it didn't, because I really would like to watch that.
So which was the film that got pulled that you didn't get to see, Sharon?
I wanted to see, because again, there are not many. It is aimed at ladies. It was called The Last Letter from Your Lover.
Oh yes, that one.
And it literally had 3 screenings for 1 week. And I thought normally if they show it 3 times in a day, they expect it to have a certain amount of a take up. So I thought, it might carry over as it's been getting a bit more publicity. But no, this week it's not there.
Okay, cool. And I, because I'm only with life and everything like that, I limit myself to a film a week at the cinema. And I got to see Free Guy this week, which Sean had seen last week in a preview screening. And this is going to be like my weekly rant about the View Cinema Redditch, and why I don't understand why a cinema on the Isle of Wight can show some smaller movies, interesting movies like Boys from County Hell, but you're View, you're big, you're in a bigger town, and all I get is the obvious blockbuster stuff, including stuff that I would have thought would have left the cinema already, but is actually still there. So the films that I have not seen that we've reviewed that haven't even shown up here, I haven't seen hide or hair of them. No Stillwater. Never
that came
made
and
it.
Went again. I wanted to see that. That was the other one I wanted to see.
That was good.
And didn't come over. I would have thought that'd be carried over another week.
Yeah.
No, 1 week only.
No. It didn't even show up here. Did not see hide or hair of that film. It's like if you hadn't told me and you hadn't reviewed it, I would not have known it was released. I would have been sitting here going, oh yeah, there was that film that I heard about. Why hasn't it come out yet? Wasn't released. I mean, I think Boys from County Hell didn't show up. So, and I think Sean, let's see. I'm gonna look through the films that Sean mentioned that he's seen this week. Okay, we do have Don't Breathe 2, but it's just headline stuff. It's like if it's big, so Free Guy. I got to see that. The Forever Purge is still on the screen.
What? Really?
Yes. The Forever Purge is still on screen there. Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's just kind of like, I'm like, why don't you give me something interesting? Give me something a bit different that I can watch. Okay, Snake Eyes is there. Oh, Space Jam is still on. Space Jam is still on there. I can't believe it. Ooh, there's a film called Reminiscence with
Hugh Jackman. That's weird.
Okay, that's coming. It's my weekly rant saying that why don't they show more things? I need to go speak to the manager or something and go, hi, any chance of a small film that that I might not get to see for a while, but anyway, all right, cool. So with that, what have we seen at home? Let's go to the Netflix side of things, Netflix and Friends side of things. So Sharon, what have you seen?
I saw a film on Amazon Prime called Boss Level.
I thought you might like this. I thought you might like Boss Level. What with Frank Grillo's granite face? Frank Grillo's granite face pasted all over your Amazon profile.
What's on this week? But I've got a winner.
It's kind of like that's as good as for Sharon. That's as good as just putting like a press me Alice in Wonderland buttons, like click me. that's clickbait. That's it. Frank Grillo's face.
Your definition of clickbait. All I needed is a screenshot of Frank Grillo or Mads Mikkelsen, and I'm there.
With a play button on their face, and just like, oh yeah, yes please. I bet you didn't even read what the film was about. You just
really didn't need
to. All right, cool. Sure. What have you seen at home?
I saw a movie on Sky called Run, Hide, Fight.
Ooh. Okay, cool. I don't know whatever this film could be like, but good title. I like the title. I went a little bit old school. So I think we have 4 things in the cinema. So if I might, I'll bring 2 things that I've seen at home that I would actually quite like to talk to. I went a little bit old school with my choice, and I went to see no, I don't. I saw at home Sneakers, a 1992 movie.
Sneakers.
Yeah,
Sneakers.
a sneaker. This is a film that this is a film I had heard about from when I was a kid. When I was a kid in Nigeria, people had spoken about it. I'd heard about it. I heard things about different things. I think I'd seen maybe one scene from it, but I'd never actually watched the whole thing. So, I switched on Amazon Prime, and they were like, "This film only has 34 days left." I was like, "Well, I guess that's what I'm going to do with my Saturday morning then." And I watched Sneakers. And the other thing I want to talk about is I've been watching it. Pretty much, I started it around about the beginning of lockdown, and it took me until about the end of lockdown to finish watching it. And it's a TV show called I May Destroy You.
Ah, yes. I know of it, but I haven't seen it myself.
I May Destroy You.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let us kick off with, actually, I should have been writing down what films we were talking about, but let's kick off with, I'm going to say Free Guy. I was trying to because Sean, cool. You've seen everything that we've seen. So
yeah, that's it. Yeah. You go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, we've seen everything that we've seen. So we'll kick off with Free Guy, and we'll talk about this. So we give ourselves 5 minutes of film and see what we can do with that. So Free Guy stars Ryan Reynolds as a character called Guy, who is in a town called Free City, and he works in a bank, and he does the same thing every day. Goes to the bank, and he's wondering, you see him kind of talking about how is there anything to life. It becomes very much apparent that he is in a video game, and he's in a Grand Theft Auto type video game, and he's just one of what they call NPCs, as a non-playable character. So if you've ever played a video game, if you've played Super Mario Brothers, he's like a Goomba. He's just somebody who's in the background. And in the way the things work, because I've never played Grand Theft Auto myself, but I've seen people playing it, and it's essentially people walk around in Grand Theft Auto, and you just commit crime. You steal this car, you shoot this person, you kill that mafia boss. That's what happens in it. And so and for him, from his point of view, he's like, I live in the best city in the world, and all the people who wear glasses, they are real heroes. They're the ones who go around and they do on all these adventures, and the people who wear glasses are the players who are coming in from the real world, logging into this online video game, and are going around doing all their missions and all that. And then one day he starts sort of like, he doesn't know he's a program. He doesn't know that he's a video game character. But he starts wondering if there's more to life, and whether maybe I could do something different from the same thing I do every single day. And he starts breaking out of the routine. And there is one scene where he goes to this cafe, and he requests a coffee. And he has the same coffee every day. Everybody in this cafe has the same thing every day. And one day he says, "Could I have a cappuccino?" And everybody's like, "What?" And they'll look like him like, "What? What are you looking for? What's a cappuccino?" And all that. And he's like, "Okay, no, I'm just kidding." And so it goes on, and then you get to meet Jodie Comer's character, who is a player of the game, who comes into the game, and he sort of like gets enamored with her and starts following her everywhere. And she's trying to find this little thing within it, because it turns out that she's a programmer who wrote a video game at one point. The company that made Free City bought a video game, and she thinks that she got ripped off, like they've used her game for something with her, and she's trying to find evidence of that within the game. So that is the basic premise of it, and it's pretty much becomes like, fulfill my destiny, hero's journey kind of thing, going from this person being a background character to becoming something more than that. So Sean, what did you think of this?
Okay, this film is had some really, really quite amusing moments in it, and a couple of there was a few cameos as well, weren't there?
Yeah, there's a few cameos.
Oh yeah. With Mum. So.
Oh yeah.
You know the bit, yeah. So,
I know the bit, yeah.
And there was a bit, and I liked it from the bit. There's like a couple of young girls, and they're in the game like that, and there's a little girl sat on the side. She goes, "Well," anyway, I won't say what it says.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit. It's cut, and that is so well done. I thought that was so.
It is well. Essentially, the film has quite a bit of fun with.
It does.
Like when you go online, you don't have a clue who people are. So you see what people look like in the game, and then it cuts to the real life and it shows you who is actually there. So you have bits where you have like, some big badass bank robber who's like coming on like using all this language, and you come back to the real world and you realize that it's like an 8-year-old girl who is actually doing that. So so the film has fun with that.
So there's I thought there was some really, really good moments in this, and I really liked the way it sort of went on, because it moves on more with the cappuccino when they say about, you're saying about the coffee. The character, they're like, oh, this character's starting to. So and I liked all the YouTube bits and all the social media stuff.
Yes,
that was brilliant. I thought it was and I really liked the program, the program when it was found, the program, if you know the bedroom. I thought that was really, really clever. I thought that was smart. And so on the whole, I thought this was a really good, fun movie, and it surprised me. I mean, it was a sort of surprise in it, but really, because I was a bit skeptical about it, but I have to say I really enjoyed this film. It was great. There was enough in there. Sorry.
No, I have to agree with you, because it's I made the comment last week that this is a film I feel that I could have reviewed from the trailer. And some of that is true, but some of it is not so true. There were bits in it that did surprise me. There were bits in it that I did think, okay, well, that's different. And for a film that's pretty much a remake of Wreck-It Ralph, because because if you think about it, it's kind of like, and for instance, with this film, because my era of gaming is kind of like 80s, so when I was watching Wreck-It Ralph, I was like recognizing all these background characters. Like, oh my god, Paperboy! And Wreck-It Ralph is this sort of like jukebox of classic 1980s video gaming, and I reckon that there's bits in this that somebody who plays modern games, like whether you play Fortnite or whether you play Grand Theft Auto, there's probably bits where you're going to watch it and you're going to go, oh my god, look what they did. And there's references to that I don't get, because I have never played Fortnite, I've never played Grand Theft Auto. And they even have bits like when the scenes, there's numerous scenes where people are talking in the foreground, and in the background you can see somebody doing like typical video game play, like walking into a wall repeatedly and then coming back and then jumping on the spot and then jumping again.
That's me to a T. That was
and it's kind of, you can essentially see the fact that there's some player in the real world playing this game that doesn't quite know what they're doing, and they have all these sort of little things in the background. I think that's quite good. But but as I said, it is pretty much, so if you took Wreck-It Ralph as a treasure trove of video games from the 80s and arcade video games, this is almost kind of like the same for the new version of it. But the storyline is kind of basic, like computer program, like in Ralph, he knows he's a computer program, but he thinks, why do I always have to be the bad guy? I want to be the hero. And in this, Guy goes on a very similar journey. But with all those things, I was quite impressed. With this film. I was like, this is a lot better than I thought it would be. There are some bits of it, and I think it also, for the fact that this is a computer program, and sometimes these films can just kind of go, ooh, why has a computer program all of a sudden started behaving differently from its original programming? And sometimes people just go, well, magic! Like Short Circuit, like Johnny Five. Why is Johnny Five alive? Ooh, magic! But in this, they actually put in, without trying to explain it too much, they put in, for me, a good reason as to why all of a sudden a computer program starts behaving differently from what it's supposed to be doing. And I thought it was quite good. I mean, Taika Waititi shows up as the bad guy, sort of like think Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates or something like that. Essentially, tech boss guy, and he comes in and he just Taika Waititi's all over the place. Essentially, he Taika Waititi's all over the place, and it's there's some bits where I think it goes a bit overboard, but either way, but all in all, it works. I think I would have to give this, I would think, a high 3. It's not quite a 4 for me. I was surprised with it. It was way better than I thought it would be, and I think it's a great, entertaining watch. So I think I'll give it a 3.
Yeah, and for me, I would totally agree with you. I would give it a really, really high 3. There was enough in there to make it fun, make it interesting, and it was a good high 3 for me.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, nice to know we agree on something. So Free Guy. Yeah, that is Free Guy. And now we go back to Netflix and Friends. And Sharon, would you like to take us into what it is that you saw this week?
Yes, on Amazon Prime, I saw a film called Boss Level, which does tie in quite well with the previous film, as in
It
it's almost
does.
constructed like a video game, where you have this sort of. It's one of those you talked about this before, Tozen, that there is like a subgenre of films, the time slip film.
Yes, yes.
And the Groundhog Day, time loopy, whatever it is, but you just keep reliving the same day over and over again. And this starts off with that premise sort of joined into like a video game type thing. So basically, Frank Grillo's character, he wakes up every morning to the sound of a scream and someone trying to kill him. And as the days progress, he actually got his timings down, so he knows, like, you know, to duck this blow, to dodge that bullet, to scoot out of the way of this particular vehicle or whatever thing. Because basically, he doesn't know why, but he wakes up with the whole world trying to kill him, and he spends his day basically staying alive. And then he gets to a certain point where he thinks. He starts working things out, or like what has led to this point. Why is he in this situation that the whole world is trying to kill him? And in particular, there's a group of assassins who have these sort of comic book style ways of. One of them has got like a harpoon gun. Another one's a dwarf with a really, bad tempered dwarf.
Yeah.
One of them is like a high kicking sort of young female ninja type assassin with a blade who keeps chopping him into bits basically whenever she gets him. And so his mission in life is basically to survive, and he's never got past like 1:34 in the afternoon. That's as far as he's ever managed to survive. No matter how many days he's redone it, he never gets past this one point. And then he obviously has this revelation, and then he tries to work out what the problem is, and then he identifies basically what's behind it all. So it's like a game, and it's a mystery, and it's Frank Grillo just doing what he does.
Okay.
Which is punching, kicking, and every now and then forgetting to put his shirt on.
Hey, I've got to be honest with you. I think because I look at Frank Grillo and I look at the man must be in his 50s now or something.
He's in his 50s now, yeah.
Yeah, it must be. So I'm thinking, hey, if you can keep that until your 50s, fair play to you. To keep your shirt off. That's what I say. Yeah. So what did you think of Boss Level?
Yeah, I thought it was entertaining. Sometimes for me the humor was a little bit broad, as in when people get killed in sort of inventive ways. I don't find that particularly up my street.
Yeah.
So, and some of the one-liners again were a little bit broad for me, a little bit, a bit obvious. Whereas, so there's nothing subtle about this film. I don't think you go into a film that's called Boss Level looking for subtlety, and so it didn't deliver any subtlety. But it had a surprisingly good cast as well as Frank Grillo. We've got Naomi Watts, we've got Mel Gibson, and then there's a whole host of other sort of martial artists who appear up there, who sort of pop up, and you go, fair dues. They've obviously, put the work in, and they've delivered. It's quite an entertaining plot. I mean, I watched this with my brother, so we both were. I got to the point where it kept saying it started off like day 55, and then it went to like day 45, and it kept carrying on through all the different days. And after a while we said, it's not going to do this all the way through, is it? And then it did actually progress, so that made sense. So I thought it was fun. It was mindless to a certain degree. I mean, you didn't have to overthink it. All of these time slip things, they had a reason for the time slip and the time loop. It explained that. With this thing, the MacGuffin, as it's called.
Yeah. The MacGuffin.
And yes, so it was, and it had a few surprises in there, so that was good. So I thought it was entertaining. It is what it is. I don't think it had any hidden depths or meaning of life in it, other than, he's a Bill.
Here's a film. We hope you enjoy it. We'll see you next week with another one. And if it's on Amazon, it's probably going to be another time loop film, because this film came out, and when I've reviewed 2 films this year. One of them was The Map of Tiny Perfect Things, and the other one was Palm Springs. which are both on Amazon Prime. They were done as Amazon Prime exclusives, and they're both time loop films. And I said that Amazon seemed to be sort of trying to carve a little corner of the streaming world for themselves, which is we do time loop films. And then I see Boss Level shows up, and I'm like, oh, Boss Level, that's a video gaming term. Then I watch the trailer, and I'm like, oh, good Lord, what? What just seemed to be like a throwaway line for me actually now seems to be the truth, that they are trying to be the home of the time loop film, because they've done this is another Amazon exclusive. It's a time loop. And I'm like, what is going on here? I want to see the business meeting where they come up with this thing, going, guys, we can be the people. People know they come to us for time loop things. You want to have a time loop thing? Amazon.
This could be our thing.
This could be our thing. People would think it's the same day over and over again, just like one of these films, because we've got another time loop film.
Got another one.
Yes, but okay. So how many stars would you give Boss Level?
I would give it. I'll give it a 3. Okay. I don't think it would probably aspire to be anything more than that, really, if it could think. So I would just say, it's a 3. But I liked it.
Okay, cool. Okay, now I have to ask you this: what do you expect from a Frank Grillo film? See, as you're a Frank Grillo fan.
Punching, kicking,
shooting.
A lack of shirts in several scenes, and occasionally that sort of look. It has a look.
Oh,
so that's it.
And so occasionally the smolder.
Oh, yeah, he's got that. Yeah, smolder.
Yeah, the Grillo smolder. All right, cool. Like Dr. Smolder Bravestone or whatever it is, the Rock from Jumanji movies.
That's it.
Okay, so you see that. So this film seems to deliver on a lot of those levels.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. It was entertaining. I could watch it with my brother without going, "Oh no, don't do that." So yeah, it was fine. It is what it is. I think it rose to its levels. It was good for its type of film.
So you wouldn't say that this is beneath Frank Grillo's amazing talent or anything like that.
No, I think he plays to his strength. If you need punching, he's going to punch someone.
What did he play in the Avengers movies? Was he like shot?
Dead
no,
Stone.
No, it was Crossbones.
Crossbones. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Crossbones. I feel like he was horribly underused.
I do as well.
I think he was horribly. I think it was horribly underused. I feel like they could have done more with Crossbones. That's one of those people who I'm like, oh man, yeah.
For me, he was in the best of the Purge films, so he must admit he was in the Purge films.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but okay, never mind. Anyway, so I just thought if he was in it, so you would think it was the best. But never mind. All right, cool. So I have so many questions about this Frank Grillo. Okay, but think about this, Sharon. While we go back to Sean, and Sean gives us another review, think about, is there any such thing as a 5-star Frank Grillo movie? All right, and Sean, we will go back to you now.
There's probably one.
Can I have a guess? Can I have a guess what it is?
Yes.
I think
Wheelman?
No.
I think it's called Wheelman. No. Okay.
No. My guess as a 5-star Frank Grillo movie is Warrior.
You've got it.
Yeah, wow. Because that's it. That's my guess as a 5-star, and he's not the main star in it, but he's a big part of it. And I think that was the first time I actually really noticed him. So anyway, right. We'll go back to cinemas. And Sean, this is one of the many things that you've seen this week in the cinema. We're going to go to Don't Breathe 2.
Don't Breathe 2, yes.
So now Don't Breathe 2, the fact that this has a sequel, I'm actually kind of happy about this, because the first one wasn't really a big noise film. And it was a film that I haven't seen yet, but I really wanted to. But at the same time, I couldn't find it in the cinema when it was released, first of all. And the fact that there's a number 2 has had me scrambling around trying to find somewhere to watch the first one before I watch this one. So all I know about the first one is that there's these 3 teens break into a guy's house. And the guy's blind, so they think he should be easy to rob. But it turns out that he is some sort of crazy sensei, martial arts, old school military person who has pretty much booby-trapped his house, and he knows all the sounds in his house. And so if they step on that floorboard, he knows exactly where they are. And so they think they're robbing someone who's easy to get to, and he ends up to be like, almost sort of like some sort of horror bad guy, because the guy, even though he's blind, he knows where you are in the house, and I think the house goes on lockdown and he gets them. So with that being the case, I figured that that's like a very nice contained story for one film. What happens in Don't Breathe 2? How did they kick things off again?
Okay, Don't Breathe 2. It's a slightly different film from the first one because I've actually seen the first one. And basically, it's a story of it's the same guy, the blind guy, but he's sort of got this girl that is his daughter, and he's really, really protective of her. So he trains her to. She must be about 11 or 12, I guess, and he trains her to. He doesn't want her to go to school. He doesn't want her, but he's training her with, dogs, running away from dogs. And what to do and how to hide and everything like that. And she says one day, "Can I go to town?" And there's like an ex-lady ranger, so who takes her to town, and she goes and visits her house where her mother died. So, and then on the way back, she stops off at a gas station, and there's a creepy dude that's like, "Oh, you're nice and all that." Anyway, goes home, and then these bunch of people, which are like organ harvesters, if you like. They decide. So they decide that's what they. Or there's a doctor. There's a thing on the news that says, there's been another organ harvest sort of thing. Anyway, so it turns out that this big bunch of people, they turn up they find out where this girl lives, which just happened to be there, and obviously sort of that they want the girl, so they go in. And she obviously does her bits of hiding and keeping away and stuff and everything like that. And then it from there the story goes. Shall we say it sort of becomes a bit of a home invasion thing, much like the other one. But obviously, she's quite au fait, so she's been sort of well trained. So and she manages to avoid them. And then of course you get the old boy just
Stephen Lang shows up.
Yeah, you've got like all of a sudden you've got this jumpy shot with like whoa. But anyway, it so happens that they actually manage to get the girl. I won't say what they do then, but I mean it's really it's quite cliched how he actually manages to find the being blind and all that, and it's quite There's a lot of cliches of like the story is like, okay, what are you going to do? You're blind. Yeah, okay, I can understand this. I can understand how you could get to this place. But then how could you get to this place that you don't know and knock the lights off?
Because,
you know what I mean? Know where the electric box is. So it's like,
yeah.
So, and then obviously you can imagine where it goes from there. So...
because the first one, I think, in my head, even just the concept worked because it was in his house. Mm-hmm. It was in his house. He'd set the place up, and that could actually work.
Yeah.
So with this second one, obviously, whenever you do a sequel, you've got to expand it, and you've got to do it, and you can't have it. Can't be so more people try and invade his house, and then he gets them. So they do go down that road, is what you're saying.
They do go down that road, where it's in a different place. But I mean, I guess you can forgive that, but it's just if you're like in a big abandoned place and you just happen to be just as something really, really rather nasty is going to happen, the lights suddenly go out. It's like, right, okay, all the lights have gone out. Check it out. What's gone? Electricity's gone off. So obviously you can imagine what the story is after that. So I have to say, yes, this film is very cliched. I had a couple of issues with it. It's very, very bloody and violent. I think it's a bit like the Rambo-esque thing that Sharon doesn't like. So I don't know if it would be Sharon's cup of tea because it is quite gratuitous violence. There's it's quite nasty. But I think it's really, really, really well acted. Especially the little girl. She's really, really good in the role. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can have but she's quite convincing as being quite knowledgeable. Quite. What can we say? Knows how to avoid things, look after herself, and sort of stay out the way. So that's. I mean, it was okay, cliched, bit violent, bit bloody. So, but on the whole, I could be a little bit forgiving than like. I mean, it's set up. There's something that happens right at the very beginning of the film where she's being trained. It's a bit like the diving thing, in the.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a bit like that, and you think.
Wait! You think that's extremely convenient?
She's running stuff, and it's just like, oh right, okay. So yeah, that's that sort of plot, at the beginning, and you think, right, okay, I can see where this is going.
for anybody listening and wondering what Sean means by the diving thing, he's talking about a moment that we all thought was quite convenient in A Quiet Place 2.
quite close to. Yeah,
Yeah, we thought, well, that was quite convenient.
It was one of those moments. But yeah, it wasn't. I mean, wasn't too bad. I didn't hate it. I didn't huff and puff and cross my legs and huff and puff. So I'm gonna have to say this will be a 3-star for me. This will be a 3-star. So
All right.
it was a okay watch.
We might be getting a low-key franchise developing there.
Yeah.
a low-key franchise developing. All right, cool. So, and now we go back home with Netflix and friends. And we have the film Sneakers. Now, as I was explaining a little bit beforehand, that Sneakers is a film that I heard a lot growing up. I heard about growing up in Nigeria. But I never saw it. I never got to see it and everything like that. And so I actually got to see this film. And this stars Robert Redford. It has quite a good cast with Robert Redford, Sidney Poitier, Dan Aykroyd, River Phoenix. I mean, I was going to say a young River Phoenix, but I mean, the truth is River Phoenix died so young that every single film performance you see from him is a young River Phoenix. Yeah. And so River Phoenix, Mary McDonnell. Oh, Mary McDonnell. Love that woman. And David Strathairn. Who, watching this film, because this film was released in 1992, it made me wonder.
He hasn't changed, has he?
He looks exactly the same. It makes me wonder. It's a bit like there's an actor called Wilford Brimley who has been playing an old man since he was 30 or something like that. And it made me wonder, has David Strathairn ever been young? Because yeah, because he looks like, essentially you could if you wanted to do a sequel to Sneakers and you wanted to bring David Strathairn out to play Whistler again, you could just roll him right out and it would nobody would bat an eyelid because he looks exactly the same. I mean, David Strathairn just doesn't age, but I'm not sure he was ever young. And so yeah, it has, and the whole idea of this film is a film that when I watched it, bearing in mind this was made in 1992, I was kind of shocked because a lot of the things it's talking about in the film are so relevant to today, about surveillance, about that. So Robert Redford plays the head of this group of guys who, well, it starts off with a throwback to when he was in school in the 70s and how he and a friend of his, Cosmo, had figured out this whole thing, how they could get into computer things, and they could go into the computers and they could move money around from one place to another. So it starts off with them going to Richard Nixon's personal bank account and making, like, making a donation from Richard Nixon's bank account to, like, Planned Parenthood or something like that, so, to very non-Republican sources. That one of them gets arrested, the other one doesn't. And I have to say, the casting for the young version of Robert Redford and his friend are spot on, because later in the film, when you see Robert Redford, you see this guy looks like a young Robert Redford with a mustache on, without them casting Brad Pitt, Sean, because I know I know you are convinced.
That's my theory.
Your theory is that Brad Pitt is secretly Robert Redford's son, but I think that the casting was brilliant for the young versions of these characters that you go for in the future. And what he does is that he now uses his skills. He now uses his skills to break into banks and show banks where the weaknesses are, and says, look, you're vulnerable here, 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 and here. And two guys show up claiming to be from the NSA, and they say, we need you to steal this thing from this person because this guy is developing it for other because this was at the height. It was kind of like, the Cold War had just recently ended, but even there's this whole thing running through the film. It's like, okay, it's ended, but it hasn't really ended. So there's still spies all around the place, and there's still all these countries are still spying on each other, and we need this thing because it's going to help us, give us an edge. So they go, they do it, they have a heist, and that's where I think a lot of films might end. But then he goes on and goes, okay, no, there's a little bit more here. We're not sure who it is we did the heist for. We're now in trouble. We're all going to be hunted down. We've got to figure this thing out. We've got to clear our name. And it ends up being like it's like an espionage thriller. That's what it is. It's a corporate espionage thriller. And I was really impressed with this film, not just because I think it's actually a clever film. It's a clever film. Everything that goes into it, like the way they sort of work things out. Apart from, there was a bit where they figure out that somebody's lying about something because one character goes, oh, there's no way a computer would have matched this woman with that guy. And so, like, it's kind of like you can see that the time when we thought, oh, computers can do everything and computers are just amazing and computers are pretty much God. There's a little bit of that in there. But when you think about this, there's a bit where one character has a monologue, he has a speech about how the war is no longer being fought with bullets. It's all about information, and whoever gets information is the one who has the upper hand. And I'm like, this was 1992. They made this in 1992, and now you come to now, it's the information age, and that's exactly what he's talking about. It's not about, you talk about countries like Russia going and influencing American elections because they have more information, and if they can get access to this information, they can hack things, and you're just kind of like, good God, this was 1992. So I was really impressed with this film. I think everybody is on the top of their games, and it has one of those things where you have an ensemble cast and everybody has their role, everything fits, and they just bounce off each other. And when we talk about people being criminally underused, we're talking about Frank Grillo. I think Mary McDonnell, that woman, I think, is underused in everything. Everything that she's in, apart from Battlestar Galactica, the woman is underused. She needs to be used more. She needs to be in more things throughout her career. Now, put her in more things because the woman is brilliant. And so, yeah, all in all, I loved my sort of retro watch of Sneakers. I think it's a film that still stands up heavily today. I would give it a 4 out of 5.
I'd agree. I saw it at the cinema the first time round. Yeah. And there are some scenes I still remember, the whole, say passport or something, that whole, that voice is my passport. And is that Ned Ryerson from the old Groundhog Day?
It is Ned Ryerson, Stephen Tobolsky.
Yeah.
Tobolowsky. I've never actually heard that name pronounced out loud.
But, no, I always think of him as Ned Ryerson.
Yes.
So.
It is him, and it's funny seeing like people in that who play like smaller roles and like, oh my God, it's Donald Logue. He ended up being I think Donald Logue ended up being in Gotham. He's like he's a detective in Gotham in the TV show Gotham. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, look at him. Oh my God, he looks so young. Unlike David Strathairn, who looks exactly the same, but has never looked young, never looked young a day in his life. But all right, cool. So that is Sneakers, 4 stars for Sneakers. And now we go over to The Courier. And now, Sharon, you want to take us away and tell us what The Courier is about? This is what you saw in the cinema.
Yes, this is based on true events. Set in 1960. It starts in 1960 at the height of the Cold War, when Kennedy is president and Khrushchev is the leader of the Soviet Union, and he is a man of hot temper and poor judgment, and he basically really ramped up the whole nuclear arms race, especially with the Russians, and he was intent almost on like baiting the Americans. And the idea was basically that the Americans had nuclear weapons in Europe, and so Khrushchev was going to put nuclear weapons in Cuba. And obviously this has ramped up the tension around the world. And so there was a desire basically for information, as we've said before, about espionage. And this was in the days of espionage where it's people. It isn't just, it is passing of information has to be literally from hand to hand.
Yeah.
And someone high up in the Soviet Politburo has decided that he can't tolerate this escalation to what possibly could be a war, a global war. And so he has decided that he wants to help the West in basically weakening Khrushchev. And so he has said, I will give you information. And so then the security forces, the MI6 and the CIA have got to find a way of getting the information out of Russia into Britain and then on to America to be analysed by their intelligence bodies. And so they need basically a clean skin. And a clean skin is someone who has got no connection to the military, no connection to the intelligence services, and is unknown. And so they find this gentleman called Greville Wynne, who has had dealings in the Soviet bloc countries. He's a businessman. Owns factories, and he has been to Hungary and he's been to other places. And so he was approached by the intelligence services to say, would you go to Moscow to set up a trade delegation, and while you're there, could you just bring this one thing back for us? And then starts this relationship where he meets this contact in Russia, and then he starts to bring microfilms and documents and other things back from Russia to Britain to be passed on to the intelligence services. And you see how this relationship develops between this sort of apparently, proper Englishman and this sort of Russian colonel, and how they their relationship is sort of built by this spying.
Okay, all right, cool. So now this obviously starts then the Cumberbatch as the Englishman, and and obviously he's sort of front and center. Even though from what I hear, it's more of a two-hander between these two people.
Yes.
And obviously this is Sean. You've seen this as well.
Yes, I've seen this. Yes,
and this is a period that I think both of you are well versed in. I think
yeah.
You lived through it. You know. So, what did you think of this?
Well, for me, yeah, I mean, I love, I guess, all these Cold War things. I mean, I was a little bit younger then, but obviously it still has that feel, and I love those films. It's in the mold of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy of '71. It's that very sort of dark, grainy, sort of, should we say, sepia-toned, world, where it's like, it's not vibrant colours and everything like that, and it's all very, very, very downplayed. I thought, for me, I really, really, really liked this film. I thought was excellently played. I thought Benedict Cumberbatch was superb, really. And I mean, I'm not a major fan of his, but I think he played the part really, really well, especially the latter part of the when sort of things happened. The CIA agent wasn't quite as convincing as I think she could have been. She seemed a bit modern for the times, but the stuffy old men in suits were definitely definitely spot on for that time. They would say, the ones that I say chap, he's a jolly good chap. You know what I mean? I say top hole, true blue, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, but I think the focus was, like Sharon said, the relationship between the two, wasn't it? Between the Russian and himself, and he's like, and I had to respect him for what he did, because having based on a true story, when he said, he wouldn't do that to me. So, and yeah, I thought it was a class movie. I really did. I really enjoyed this film.
And Sharon, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I thought it was very well done. I think, yes, it does fall into that Cold War mode. I thought in some ways it was reminiscent a little bit of like Bridge of Spies, where Tom Hanks goes into East Berlin, whereas this was obviously definite Russia. And when I was watching it, actually, I was reminded in some ways about the first time I went to Bulgaria, because I went to Bulgaria for the first time literally the year after communism fell.
Ooh.
So when I went into Bulgaria then, we went with a church mission. It was communist in all by name. So there was a scene where when he first goes to Russia, he goes to the airport and he comes out of this Russian aeroplane and he walks across the thing, and then he's called forward by this man in uniform, and they held up his passport, and they have to go one by one and stand in front of this glass booth. And that's what happened to us when we went to Bulgaria. We had to go up one by one, stand in front of this glass booth with a soldier in front of us, armed. And then he checked our passports and checked our visas, and then we'll wave through again, one at a time. We won't have to talk to anyone. We were spaced out. And then several times when we were in Bulgaria, we were stopped by armed police, where they would just like pull us over because we were obviously Western, and they would be like, fully armed. And it was a different world. It was a different world. And you get that feeling of like, here's the West, here's Russia, and they're not the same beast at all. So I really like that sense of.
But when it was communist, I've got to go back a little bit here. When it was communist, I flew Aeroflot, and when I was on the plane, I met a Russian guy, and he was Moscow. He said, you can come and stay. You can come and stay with this. Obviously, this is in the Cold War thing. So anyway, I gets off, and you got they got those massive wide brimmed, like the Russians got huge big caps. I don't know why.
Is it the fur hats?
The military ones, yeah.
And he looks at me and
like
said, this is Moscow, and we did have to walk off the plane and walk to the terminal, and he just says to me, visa, and I'm like, I haven't got one, and they wouldn't. Anyway, they cut a long story short, they wouldn't let me in, but. I mean, anyway, that's so.
Well, they sent you back.
Yeah, they didn't send me back. It was a flight I was going on to India. It was just like a transit. It was the transit one. So,
okay, cool, gotcha.
So it just happened to be the landing place was in Moscow. But yeah, it was. I mean, the airport was that. It was just boxes. You know what I mean? It was just like wooden boxes. There were no like posh lounges or anything like that. It was all very, very, very sparse and. Anyway,
all right.
Yeah.
So Sharon,
it did capture the mood really well. Yes, I thought it captured that feel and that mood of the early '60s. Again, it's like before the Beatles, so before that
colour.
the 60s
Yeah.
exploded. This was like, you've got the feeling it was still post-war Britain,
Yeah.
you know, where they'd only just finished rationing in the last sort of 5 or 6 years. You know, because there was rationing in Britain right up to the mid-50s. And so this is like they're still bearing the scars of, you know, the previous sort of
Second
20
World War,
years. And so it did, to me, it got that mood really well.
Cool. And so, so those final thoughts. How many stars would you give it?
I'd give it a 4. I thought it was well constructed, well done. And as soon as I came home, I wanted to look up about and find out a little bit more about them. So I did look up some news footage of the two gentlemen involved.
Well, there's that little like footage of the end of the actual chat, isn't there? Which is great. Yeah, no, totally agree with you, Sharon. Really, this is a high 4 for me. I really, really liked this movie. I thought was good in all aspects.
Okay, and I'm just checking now, and I can confirm that even with Benedict Cumberbatch in it, The Courier is another film that View Redditch is refusing to show. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Oh, for goodness sake!
They're too darn populist. It's just like, no.
It's like,
populist.
I'm beginning to wonder why I moved to this area of the country. And quite frankly. Anyway, so now we go back home to Netflix and Friends, and this is Sean with Run, Hide, Fight, which might quite frankly be the title of the week, because I think when you have essentially, if you had all these films on here and you said, okay, you have to watch one based on title alone, I think Run, Hide, Fight would win for me of all the things I'm going to do. But so, Sean, tell me, does this film live up to its title?
Okay, Run, Hide, Fight. So let's put it this way. You were talking about the time loop films, yeah?
Yep.
The time loop films. Well, this is it's not a time loop film, but it's basically, should we call this, it's a school siege. So it's a school siege sort of thing with the holding hostages and this. And basically, this is Die Hard in a school. So it's basically, so it's basically, these hostages, there's someone around who's well, it's this girl that manages, she just happens to be out when things are happening, or she's in the toilet, and so this is where the run comes from, and hide, and she's going about in this siege sort of thing. So and obviously, you know, what do terrorists have? Like walkie-talkies, you know, they have walkie-talkies. So obviously there's a girl in one of these terrorist groups that just happens to, you know, tangle, and obviously so she's got a radio, you know, that she can actually talk to the head of the terrorists, you know, Hans Gruber. You know what I mean? So it's like, so we've got this.
Was he called Hans Grauber or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. So you've got this. Basically, it is. I mean, it's she's running around the school rescuing people and stuff, and obviously more people get sent out and that. And but there is, I tell you, there's character Tom James in this as the girl's father.
Oh yeah.
And well, I won't say what he does, but let's just say, you know, when he finds out about this thing, he helps in.
He got a particular set of skills?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Does he pick up a phone and go, I will find you and I will kill you?
Well done. Yeah, not quite that much, but he just happens to be with a certain set of skills that are needed for a certain scene in the film. You know what I mean? Even though it might get him into trouble. So basically, you've got this. There's a few fights, a few traps, and then, well, basically it is Die Hard, you know, with a few. He's going, oh, you're really. In fact, I'm pretty certain, I can't remember what else, but I thought there was one time when I thought, that is Die Hard. I'm sure that's from Die Hard. I'm sure of it. But anyway, that was by the by, but I'm sure that was a thing from Die Hard. So
does he have to take a shirt off and walk around in a progressively bloodied vest?
I did have a few issues with this film when it came to like security guards and the stuff and the emergency services and things. I mean, that was a bit. I had a few issues there, but I mean, on the whole, it wasn't too bad. It kept me entertained. As I say, it's standard fare, really. It's just, you know, I can't say much more than you can imagine the story where, you know, members of the terrorist group, or they sort of wander off and things happen to them, and the main guy gets more and more cheesed off with what's going on, you know. And
it's like, they picked the wrong person to mess with.
Yeah,
they happened to invade the school. They just happened to have like Hit Girl. Hit Girl was going to this school.
That's it. Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. There's I mean, the acting's not too bad, but again, what I find difficult in some of these films is the punishment that people take, and they still manage to
get up and
run and go around, and it almost doesn't like to see that, which was the issue I had with Black Widow. You know, I mean, it was just like a body could not take that sort of punishment and manage to fight and manage to do this sort of stuff and manage to do all the stuff they do. You know, if they've been injured, if they're bleeding, it's gonna affect them. But it just seems that it doesn't. Do you know what I mean? So they get injured, they get tripped, shot, stabbed, blah blah blah, whatever, and yet they can still function almost normally. You know, maybe with a little limp or something. Do you know what I mean?
I was just about to say Rachel Weisz did end the movie with a limp. So hey, come on, Sean. Be fair. Okay,
I'll be fair. Yeah.
She did have a limp after she crashed an airplane and walked out with a limp. All right, so I mean,
okay, so we can forgive this. But yeah, so I guess the whole film it wasn't great, but it wasn't horrifically bad. So, and I mean, I am wondering, but I think on the whole, I'd probably have to give this a low 3. So it still get a 3, but it's not like, it wasn't like a high 3 or a mid 3 like we have these strange like fractions, don't we?
We have the spectrum. We have the spectrum in it. Like we decided that we have a spectrum in all the numbers apart from 2 and 1. I think a high 2 or a high 1 there. I think we did the other week end up with a very high 0. Which Sharon was like, because we don't have anything, we'll give it a 1. But I think we decided it was a very high 0. It was a high 0 by default. But it's funny when you said Die Hard in a school. I just got this memory flash of a film called Toy Soldiers with Sean Astin in it and Lou Gossett Jr., which I've just looked up. It was made in 1991, and I remember watching this film and thinking, "This is cool. This kid is walking around this school that's been invaded by terrorists." And until this moment, I did not make the connection that it was a Die Hard ripoff. I did not make the connection. It's released. Die Hard was 1989 or 1989.
Like
this was released 1991. So I'm like, oh my god, this is totally a Die Hard ripoff. They even have an older black guy for him to talk to on the other end of a radio. In Lou Gossett Jr. I was like, oh. Yeah, Toy Soldiers, Sean Astin. I've got to track that down because I remember liking that. I'm sure I'm going to watch it and think that is just total rubbish. You're no Bruce Willis. All right, cool. And now for our bonus round. Our fourth round that we did not expect to have today. And this is, we're going to go to cinemas and quickly, Sean, Snake Eyes. This is the latest attempt to reboot G.I. Joe.
This will be a rather quickie. Okay, basically starts off son and father in this house, supposed to be a safe house. The house gets attacked. Run, son, run away like that. And obviously the dad gets killed. So, and the next bit, that's the beginning. And then the next bit you see, he's basically, the son has grown up, become a bit of a street fighter. And this mafia guy says to him, I want you to come and work for me. If you come and work for me, I'll give you the guys who killed your father and all that. So he's basically got a vendor. But anyway, they want him to do something, and he meets this guy, and he's the Yakuza bloke says, you have to shoot him, but he decides not to shoot him. There's a big kung fu fight between the guy he was supposed to shoot and the guy he wasn't, and the guy he was supposed to shoot is the leader of a big clan that is holding this magical gem. So which the Yakuza wants.
MacGuffin alert.
Yeah. So and then it's like. It's a chase film. It's all about, betrayal. You've got to pass these tests if you want to join the clan, and so you've got these tests, and the leader of the clan is a woman, older lady, and she's oh yeah, and then you've got you've got in this clan you've got I think she must be a British Chinese actress, and yet I looked at her name because I got this up because it's just something I was going to say, and it's somebody I think called Haruka Abe or something. But anyway, she's bloody awful. Absolutely awful. Really, really poor actress. I thought it was horrendous. She just wasn't convincing. It was like, you thought I was going to say something good then. No, terrible. Absolutely. I was like, oh no, how would you even like her? You know what I mean? And have you ever heard an actor called Peter Mensa? Peter Mensa?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, he's the blind master. So you've got all these characters. He's the blind master.
Yeah.
So you're going on to this real politically. You know, we've had these things in the smell where we say, oh, they like to make things really, really obvious. So you've got a blind master, you've got a hard taskmaster, and you've got a scene. Oh, you've also got like someone from Cobra. Now Cobra's the bad guy. I guess that's a bit like you got Cobra that is bad lot. So there's a girl from Cobra is like a secret agent, and you got a girl from G.I. Joe, which I think is an actual character called Scarlet. That's played by Samara Weaving. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, and they're on opposite sides, so you're going to get the conflict and that. And then,
so are you talking about the whole thing where it's like, oh, you're going to have a fight, and then for some reason, out of all these people, the woman happens to fight the woman, and they have to fight, and they have a fight.
So they have a fight, yes, but then because things are going a bit pear-shaped, they say truce, and then you've got this scene where you've got the Isuko woman I was talking about, the old woman that's the leader of the clan. You've got the woman from Cobra and you've got the one from G.I. Joe, all four of them. And there's this one shot where they're all together and like, you know, the bit where it's like, she's not alone.
Oh, so essentially all the women on screen.
So take out hundreds and hundreds of blokes, you know. And I mean, it's just like totally. I thought, you know, they got the old fan guns and they're all there. And they even do like a Charlie's Angels pose. You know?
Good Lord.
So I think, oh, good Lord. Yes. Oh, good Lord. So, yeah. And I mean, it's just so in your face and so obvious, you know?
Yeah, like, we are making a point right now.
Yeah,
look at
right
us.
Now, yeah.
We are on the right side of history.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this. The only good guy in it was the chap from The Raid. He's in it. He's one of the masters. He's heavy master. Yeah. So, and I mean, I like him anyway. I think
another person who's underused.
Yeah. But the character, what's his name? Tahiro Hira is, I don't know. The acting's awful. It's terrible. It's awful. Really bad.
Well,
really bad.
Do you mean the main character, Snake Eyes himself?
Snake Eyes. Yeah. He's like.
Yeah, because he's played by Henry Golding. Henry Golding. Yeah.
Yeah, Kenta is the baddie. So, but it's like, no, they just weren't convincing.
I'll tell you the big thing.
Sorry, man. I didn't mind the other G.I. Joe stuff, but I didn't mind it. I seem to think, but this was.
But this is a film that nobody asked for. That's the thing that gets me. I don't see anybody clamoring, watching G.I. Joe, any of the G.I. Joe movies and going, oh, wow, you know what? You know that guy with the mask that never reveals his face? We want to know more about him. Let's have an origin story for that guy. I mean, I'm just kind of, I'm like, who thought this was an idea? Who thought, you know what? Yeah, let's give that guy his own movie.
To be honest with you, when I saw it, I was thinking, what, that G.I. Joe thing from years ago with Channing Tatum? I thought
that's the one, Channing Tatum.
One. Yeah, because I thought that was going back a long time when they
and The Rock was in that as well.
The Rock was in the sequel.
In the sequel, yeah.
The Rock was in the sequel, and then all of a sudden it's like
because they jump out of a plane. He goes, "Feel it like you." I can't remember the thing, but anyway, carry on. Sorry, Sharon.
But that's going back a long time though to suddenly resurrect, presumably the franchise. They're thinking we need a franchise. We need a franchise, people. Yeah, oh no, just go find G.I. Joe.
Yeah, I don't understand the thinking behind this at all. I don't understand how this film exists. You see, you know, when you talk about Hollywood pitch meetings or how they decide what films get made, and how I say I would love to know what's happening in Amazon with them making all these time loop movies. I want to know how the hell this film got made. I want to know why. Why did you think it's like from a commercial point of view, G.I. Joe has not been it has not been a profitable franchise for a while.
No.
What made you think this is the toy line that we are going to go make a film about? I just don't understand why this film exists. It doesn't make any sense on a creative level, on a commercial level. It doesn't make any sense. But how many stars would you give Snake Eyes, Sean?
Oh dear. Can I say a high two?
Okay.
A high two. Yeah,
Oh.
no, it was yeah, no, I just yeah, let's call it a two. Let's call it a two. So yeah,
Oh,
two.
okay, all right, cool. And now we get on to back a final thing on Netflix and Friends. Oh, just before we finish, Sean, Run, Hide, Fight. Where did you watch that, or what?
Sky.
Sky Cinema.
Yeah,
All
on the
right, cool.
Sky Cinema. Yeah.
All right, cool. So this is something I watched on BBC iPlayer, and it's called "I May Destroy You" from Michaela Cole. And so this is a film, oh no, film or a TV show that made a big noise, and everybody was raving about at the beginning of lockdown. If you can cast your mind back to around about April 2020. And everybody was raving about this and saying, "Oh, I may destroy it. This is great. This is great. This is a brilliant thing. It's a whole brilliant revolutionary thing. That we need more shows like this that talk about more things like this." And I was like, "Okay, fine. I'll try and give it a go." And I started watching it, and I watched a couple of episodes, and I was like, "Yeah, well, whatever." Not. I couldn't really get into it, and I've sort of gone back to it little by little over the last year and a bit until the bit where I finally finished watching it. And the idea behind this is you meet Michaela Cole. She plays a character called Bella or Arabella, and she is like a social media personality who's written a book that has actually become quite successful, and she is writing a second book. One day, so she has an agent and she has a publishing house. Her agents say, "You need to finish this book. You can have an office," and they let her go right there. She's writing there. Her friends call out for a night out. She goes for a night out, and she wakes up the next morning. She has a cut on her forehead. She can't really remember what happened, and she can't remember. She goes to the police and goes, "I think I saw something bad last night. I think I saw somebody go assaulted last night." And they say, "Oh, why is that?" She's like, "I keep getting these flashes of this guy doing this thing." And the more they talk to her, the more they realize that she didn't see somebody else get assaulted last night, but she was date raped, and that she was the one who was assaulted. And the reason she can't remember anything is because she'd been roofied, or she'd had a drug, like she'd been sipped a drink that had something in it, and she couldn't remember it. And so that's where it starts off, and then the show sort of morphs into this weird thing where it doesn't really seem interested in following that one line and saying who did this or anything. It goes into a whole bunch of different directions about her friendship group and all that, and were they complicit in this? Like her friends who were with her, who left her alone, were they complicit in this thing actually happening? And then she has a friend, like a gay friend, Kwame, and he has his own thing that goes on, and then it goes into sort of like almost this sort of like gay app dating culture in London, and what happens there, and why do people have to do that? And it deals with the fact that she is of Ghanaian descent, and it's kind of like, how does that affect with the kind of life that she's living, and it has random episodes that go back into her childhood, and then you find out like where one of the people who she's friends with now accused somebody else of sexual assault when they were in school, and how that affected his life. So a lot of the stuff you read about this show is it talks about, or it says that it's an exploration of consent and what consent means in today's day and age, and what happens to all these different things. And it does do this, but it means that it's quite hard to keep a track of what exactly is going on. And it's quite hard to keep a track of, okay, why are we going this? We did this in the last episode. Where are we going now with this? Okay, is this going anywhere? Is this good? Then she goes off to Italy because there's some guy that she knew in Italy, and then there's a friend of hers who, when they comes to visit her in Italy, and when she's in Italy, ends up having a threesome. But then there's a whole thing of like she has a threesome, but what actually happened there? Did the guys did they know each other before she had this? If they did know each other, was there a problem with that? There's a bit where a guy who is gay sleeps with a woman, and when she finds out that she's gay, she says, "How dare you? That's tantamount to rape. Don't tell me that you were gay." And it's like, is that really and it essentially goes all over the place. It goes into a whole bunch of different things, and it's, as I said, I kept going back to this show over the last year, trying to finish it off. And it wasn't until it got to the final episode, and I think in the final episode is the bit where it really, really does do something that is a little bit revolutionary. That is a final episode that it does something that it was set up. This whole thing was set up to be like a revenge thriller, or to be like a cop show where we try to track down what exactly happened or going. But it's in the final episode, and the way the show concludes is what really sets it apart from anything else. Because, to be honest with you, I found it hard going, as it took me over a year to finish watching the show. I found it hard going because I was like, I am not sure what you're trying to tell me. I do not like these characters. I do not like these characters. I do not like the situation. I do not like what you're doing. Please get to the point. But it's not until it's the final episode that I'm like, okay, cool. Now I see what it is that you're trying to say. Now I see what it is you're trying to say and what you're trying. Let me put it this way: this is a show that has multiple endings, it's a show that has multiple endings. So I think a big part of the reason why I probably didn't get into it is because I'm just no longer young. Let's be honest, I'm not young anymore. This nightlife that they're talking about is not one that I recognize. The kind of things that they're into is not something that I recognize. The way they use social media is not something I'm into. And so it's almost kind of like a window into a different world of what the world is like now. But I think for a large part, I was kind of like, this show is totally overrated. I have to be totally honest. A large part, I was like, this show is overrated. There's too much noise about it. I don't get it. The final episode is the one that I think that stands out, and that it sort of like makes everything else go, okay, cool. This has been elevated. This has been elevated so much so that I would give this a low 4.
Low 4, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'll give it a low 4 because I have to admit there's about 10 to 12 episodes. I can't remember exactly the number why, but I found it trying getting through. I felt like there were some interesting things. There was some interesting sort of back and forth.
What's it called again, Toast?
I May Destroy You.
I May Destroy You.
It's called I May Destroy You, and that is the second best title of the week after Run, Hide, Fight.
Yeah, Run, Hide, Fight. Run, hide, fight. I may destroy you.
I got several skills. I will find you and I will kill you. It sounds like we're writing a script for like a Liam Neeson movie. Run, hide, fight. I may destroy you. Go, and it's So I would give it for a large part. I just didn't get what the point of this thing was, and it just went off in all sorts of random different directions. But I think it's because Michaela Cole, who wrote it, stars in it and directed it. She recently won a BAFTA for the show. I think it's because she is really interested in examining a whole bunch of things that are in culture right now about when you cancel somebody, should you cancel them? That kind of stuff. What is up in there? Who's actually to blame here? Like, is it this person who has done the act, or is it this person? And even the way it ends, it asks a real big question as to who is to blame here. Yeah, I think the final episode has caused a lot of people a lot of thought. But so I'll give it a 4. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Right, and that is it. We have gone to the end of the show for this week. Would you guys like to guess who has accrued more points, like in this league table of
I think Netflix and Friends has probably just nicked it with that last 4.
Yeah.
Because I give the 2 to I think we've only had 1, 2, which was G.I. Joe. So I figure.
Yeah, that's taken. Yes, I think you're right. I think it's home viewing has won.
Okay, so you see now, if we had our usual format, and if Sean hadn't gone to the cinema to watch one more film, if Sean hadn't gone to the cinema, if we'd only done 3 films at the cinema, three films on Netflix and Friends, it would have been a dead heat. It would have been so after 3 rounds, we had accrued 10 points for Netflix, 10 points for cinema. So as it is, with Snake Eyes has dragged everybody down like I could have predicted it would before we even did the thing. It's dragged everybody down. It's ruined everybody. It's ruined the party for everyone. And we now have Netflix this week as one with 14 points in total for an average of 3.5. We're leaving cinema with 12 points in total for an average of 3. So,
okay.
Yes, thank you very much. If you watched any of these things and you want to let us know what you thought, please do get in touch with us on all sorts of social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. That's Netflix VS Cinema. And we will get in touch with you, give you a shout out, and maybe even get you on the show to tell us exactly why you think we were so wrong.
Yeah.
All right. Who never knows? Who never knows? So until next week, when we shall go and see whether we can convince cinemas to show us some films we want to watch, it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye for me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for joining us.